Today we're going to be talking about autism in girls and women and female people. Hey, I'm Jenny and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about autism in girls. Now, to be more specific, I'm talking about AFAB people, which means assigned female at birth. I'll be doing another video about why representation matters so much in the autistic community, but right now, here's my little rant. Black people, people of color, transgender people, gender fluid people, every type of person that exists can be autistic. And all you really see is cisgender men and boys. And how unlikely it is for them to get diagnosed when there's nothing to tip them off to say, oh, this person's like me and they're autistic, maybe I'm autistic. There's nothing, there's no sounding board. And so there needs to be more research for women in general, for people in general, for queer people, for people all over the gender spectrum. There just needs to be more so that people can see themselves and maybe get the help that they need. Okay, rant over. Disclaimer, this is based on me Googling things and my own experience. I fully might be wrong about some of this. This is really just based on my own experience and what I have found, what little I have found on Google. When you think of someone autistic, do you picture a boy or a girl? Typically you picture a boy because the stereotype is a quiet, maybe nonverbal, not super social little boy or man who is really good at math and science, and that's just not me. Now, that's not saying that girls can't have some of the same behaviors as autistic boys, and that's not saying that autistic boys can't have some of the same behaviors that are typically seen in girls. Autistic people like to say, if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. And that's because the way that each autistic person presents, their profile, their set of behaviors, is going to be wildly different than the person next to them who is also autistic. I'm going to talk a little bit about my symptoms that are consistent with the traits most commonly found in women and girls with autism. Number 1. Special interests. Now, again, this can be true for boys as well. I have very specific, passionate interests in things that maybe aren't super interesting to a lot of neurotypical people. Now, I have some more generalized interests, such as photography, theater, arts and crafts, cats. But I also have very specific interests that are a little weird. And I'll say it, they're weird. Like, I am fascinated with 1800s post-mortem photography. Another thing that is typical in girls and women with autism is having a really low frustration level and having a hard time regulating your feelings once they pass a certain intensity. That can result in anxiety attacks, panic attacks, meltdowns, breakdowns. Of course, as you get older, it's possible to get therapy and help like I have to be able to control that a lot better. But things like jump scares, surprises, changes in plans at the last minute can be much more distressing for girls and women with autism than other people. It's very common for girls and women with autism as they go through adolescence to develop mental health issues like anxiety, depression, panic attacks, check for me. And that can be hard to control because they don't really know or understand what's happening. And that's where therapy can come in very handy. That's where, if you're into it, medication can come in handy. I've used both and they're really helpful. Again, symptoms like having anxiety and depression are not unique to autism. Just because you have anxiety does not mean you're autistic or vice versa. But autism is very much associated with anxiety, mood disorders, obsessive compulsive disorder, etc. Now, there's a dichotomy that comes with autism in girls, which is we are acutely aware that we are very different from everyone else, and we are trying really hard to mask our weirdness, our autistic symptoms, or behaviors and fit in with everybody. You may see a girl with autism trying to fit in and missing the mark somewhat when it comes to fashion, when it comes to behavior, when it comes to repeating phrases that they hear their neurotypical friends say. Through my childhood, into adolescence, and even well into adulthood, I'm still masking quite often what I consider to be the weird or not cool parts of myself in an effort to fit in. It's just masking the parts of myself that I feel would be looked down upon. And now that I'm showing them, they're honestly not. And the people who would be judging me are rude and don't deserve my time. Another thing that's very common in autistic girls is creating and maintaining routines that cannot be interrupted or changed no matter what. I thrive on routine. I do things the same way over and over again because they work. They are time-tested routines and they're efficient, they're comfortable, and I know what's going to happen. It gives me a sense of control over my life. And oftentimes that doesn't work and things are interrupted or plans have to change, and I'm getting a lot better at handling that. But often with young girls, that's not the case, and they will get very, very upset or distressed when their routines are interrupted or have to be shifted because of something that's happening outside of what they can control. One thing that I experience that's very common in women and girls with autism is sensitivity to sensory input. That can mean lights that are normal for you are way too bright for me. That means sounds that are loud for you are very scary and sudden to me. That can mean that foods that have a little bit of flavor to you are very overwhelming and powerful to me. One thing that's very common when it comes to sensory input is texture, and that can be texture of food, texture of furniture, and also texture of clothes. I look for comfort first when it comes to clothing, and that doesn't necessarily mean baggy clothes. It means the fabric. How soft is the fabric? Are there seams that are going to irritate my skin? Are there tags? If the tags are there, are they removable? Target and American Eagle have amazing clothes for people with sensory issues that have very few seams. They're really soft and they won't be a distraction to you as you go through your day. The last thing I'm going to mention is preparing ahead of time. Now, I'm sure you've heard that it's good to be prepared, but especially for autistic women and girls, we prepare ahead of time a lot. And I mean preparing for conversations, preparing for a party. That means planning ahead of time what your thing is that you're gonna say. For example, I went to a party, I had an awesome dress on and it had pockets. I had that statement prepared, and I knew that that was going to be my quick conversation with people as they said, "Hi, how are you? Oh, I like your dress. Thanks, it has pockets. Cool, I'll see you later. Bye." I had myself prepared for small talk. Small talk can be really hard for girls and women with autism, and boys too. It's hard and tiring, and we have to plan out ahead of time different bullet points of what we can say, because in the moment, often there's so much sensory input that we can't think of something to say, so we have to pull from what we've planned ahead of time. I will say though, the main overarching thing that is different in women and girls that is not necessarily always true in boys is the masking. It's the hiding your symptoms, hiding your behaviors that you think are undesirable. And that actually is part of the reason why there's so little research done about autism in girls and women, because we're really good at hiding it, so no one really notices. We hide a lot of the things that would make a parent or a teacher or a doctor go, "Oh, let's get her evaluated for autism." They don't say that because they have no way of knowing. We're so good at hiding it. So all of that is sort of an overview of autistic women and girls. Again, these behaviors are not going to be true for every single woman, every single girl. Some of them are also found in boys. I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you know one person with autism, you know one person with autism. And this is really just based on my experience personally with other people that are autistic that I know, and Google. So feel free to leave questions down below if you have them. I'll try to get to as many as I can, whether it's in the comments or making another video. Thanks for watching. That's all for now, and I'll see you soon.